the holographic solution I use show that every proton has the information of all other protons in the universe within them. And the solution is exact, you know, although the numbers are enormous, it outputs the exact mass and radius of the proton and the atoms and the electrons and all this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. This is Ogrodowski of WeAreChange.org here at a very intense mental, physical, and spiritual experience called Burning Man. I have the distinct honor and pleasure to be joined by Nassim Haramein. A lot of people have been enthralled with you here. You have a very significant scientific background, and many people here have been telling me he's able to explain all the hippy-dippy and spiritual stuff we've been talking about for years. So if you could, for the people who don't know you, tell us about your scientific background and what you do.
I wrote unified field equations to unify quantum physics with relativity, and it's taken me like a 25-year or more like 30-year research to get there. But what's important is that the solution is something remarkable. It's something that, you know, actually transcends what you can expect from physics and moves into the realm of consciousness and what people called spirituality, which I actually believe is the physics we don't quite understand yet, and, you know, as well as actually predict very important fundamental constants and the size of things like the proton, the electron, their mass, and all the material world.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo out there. There's a lot of people just making things up all the time, but you kind of quantify it, you kind of scientifically break it down, but then you also kind of simplify it. You had a new scientific discovery that you kind of debuted here at Red Lightning. You gave a 3-hour speech. Now tell us what it was in a minute.
Well, the new solution that I came up with Dr. Amira Val-Baker in the last few months is what I presented, and it's remarkable because it outputs the mass and the spin of the electrons for all of the table of elements with no free parameters, and it's extremely accurate relative to the measurement that we're getting in laboratory, more accurate than the standard model is, and it does it without free parameters. That is, there's no fudge factor where the standard model has some 21 free parameters to achieve that. So it's really incredible. And what it says that, you know, there's a structure, there's a space-time between you and me, the space in you and the space in me, because we're made mostly out of space, atoms are made of 99.99999% space, is full of energy, and it's that energy that creates the material world. And it's that energy is not just a random energy, it's actually energy that's carrying information, just like a radio, you know, is tapping into electromagnetic waves that we're emitting. You know, that information is actually constantly evolving and creating higher and higher level of complexity that eventually make human beings and planetary system and biological entities and all this. So it touches way past physics, but what's exciting is that the solution at the physical level are extremely exact, which tells you that the theory is correct and that there is enough you know, support for it to actually start to like expand the theory and see where it leads us. And I think it's going to lead us somewhere incredible.
It's been mind-blowing listening to you talk. I know a lot of people here are like, yeah, Burning Man drugs. You don't need drugs at Burning Man. You just need you and your lectures. And it's been very profound and very amazing, because a lot of times the scientific community kind of shuns this kind of information. They kind of like to stay in the old realm. And I know there's this constant push back and forth, and a lot of people, especially within the establishment, want to keep it where it is.
Right.
But what kind of progressions have you seen? What kind of battles have you faced because of that?
It's been difficult. It's been a long journey. In the last 16 years, 20 years, a lot of my work has been censored. It's been very difficult to move forward. It's hard to publish. You know, there's a lot of resistance. It's hard for me to get through to the mainstream scientific community and the physics community. But behind the scene of the institutions, because that's the institution, physicists in general are honest people, and many physicists around the world now, read my paper and can see, because the math is the math and it talks for itself, that there's something very powerful there. And so we're getting so much inquiry and attention from behind the scene. These physicists are unable to publicly endorse what I do because they would get in trouble, lose their job, and all this stuff. So, but it's on its way. It takes time, to change a paradigm, especially a paradigm that's been there for 100 years, And so, what's exciting is that the data now in laboratory is supporting what the solutions are, and this leads to and that's important for people to know. This leads to technologies that are gonna blow your mind. I mean, we'll be able to extract energy directly from the structure of space-time anywhere we are, control gravity, so that with gravity control, we'll be able to free ourselves from the surface of the planet, live in the universe as a whole, live in our solar system, have access to almost infinite amount of resources. This is a path forward that could really make a huge difference in humanity being able to overcome the difficulties we have today.
Wow. Amazingly well put. Tough question I'm going to ask you, but with all the recent kind of scientific discoveries that have been happening, which ones do you think are the most important ones? Obviously the ones you're working on are very, very important, but what do you think all these scientific discoveries, which ones do you think are important, and what are the kind of conclusions that are breaking the old paradigm?
I think one of the things that excites me the most, and it might sound weird because you'd expect me to say some electronic device or whatever, is the discoveries that are occurring in biology right now, where we're actually seeing how important the structure of water is, because in biology, water, although it's the majority of our body, has always been thought as just some background fluid that you could ignore. And now new data, for instance, from only 3 weeks ago, they're able to see the water molecule is actually modulating the DNA, and it's the water that's making the DNA fold in certain ways, in such a way that it can transmit information and copy information across strands and all this. And so it actually is the water. And of course, we came out of water. Everything emerges that's alive emerges from water. So you expect that water is an important part of life creation and biological systems. So I think this is changing. We're starting to realize, wait a minute, water is not just the background. There's 10 layers of water molecules that pack the DNA strand, and without those layers, the DNA is dead. It can't do anything. And so the information, memory in the structure of water, and then we just published a paper. It actually just got accepted at Neuroquantology, a very good scientific journal, and it's a paper where we actually address the fact that the brain is not the part that's manufacturing consciousness, but actually it is, like an antenna, and the water structure is part of this antenna, and the pulse of the water structure and all the fluids in your body and all this act like a bio-oscillator, and you're actually capturing information from that field that I was describing earlier. So that consciousness is not something that's inside of you, but it's actually something that you're interacting with.
Wow.
That's in the field of information, that's in the morphogenetic field, if you'd like.
Wow, yes. Thank you so much for breaking that down in such a scientific way. I remember watching Water, the Great Mystery, this documentary, and it just totally blew my mind away. And the information compounding that's coming out now is, I would say, kind of even proving all this hippy-dippy stuff that all these hippies have been talking about forever.
Right.
But my last question is,
I think people, instinctively know these things. It's just that because we've been bred out of them, we stopped believing them. The hippies maybe went back to it, but now science is starting to actually confirm that this is really the way things are, and that when you say we're all one, it's not just a spiritual concept, but actually that is the way things work. The holographic solution I use show that every proton has the information of all other protons in the universe within them, and the solution is exact. You know, although the numbers are enormous, it outputs the exact mass and radius of the proton and the atoms and the electrons and all this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Beautiful information, beautiful scientific discoveries. Last question. Did you have fun at Burning Man, and what's your playa name?
I don't have a playa name. I haven't been given one yet.
Okay.
You know, somebody called me Merlin yesterday, so I don't know. But I'm having a best time at Burning Man. It's been great. You know, people say you come to Burning Man to rave and party and all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's some of that, but I think like Burning Man is maturing, and people come to Burning Man to connect with the community, and it's amazing the people that are here, the talent that's here. I mean, the information that's here, the people thinking like this is not just hippy dippy anymore.
Yep.
You know, there's amazing people here, very, very qualified engineers, scientists, you know, business people, all this stuff. And you know, they come here and they connect, and business emerges from them. I mean, there's all sorts of things that happen at Burning Man that could not happen in any other, you know, venue. And so it's an important part of you know, connecting the dots and building the community and building the possibility for a future for the planet.
Like we all learned at our camp Red Lightning, which was an awesome, connecting, beautiful people just among us, yourself included. And Merlin, thank you so much, man. Give me a hug.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
This is Zukradowski of WeAreChange.org here in the barrios of Caracas, Venezuela, one of the top murder capitals of the world. What am I doing here? I'm crazy. As a journalist, I try to give you stories that all the other journalists are afraid to show you. I want to show you the raw truths of exactly what's happening in this world, but I think I did too much coming here to Venezuela. I'm joined by another crazy man, the one and only Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Video.